On planet Earth, children play a game called telephone. One child thinks of an idea and whispers it to the next child, and so on and so on. The game is designed to go wrong. The hilarity of bunny crams being said out loud when the original statement was funny pants. But the game is a nice microcosm for dieting. One idea being passed to another, being twisted and unchecked along the way. But now it's not just telephones and speaking anymore. It's computers, it's texting, it's social media. And as the messages continue to go unchecked against the original thought, we are left with one thing and one thing only.
A lot of people think, like, if I eat healthy, I'll live forever. I'll never get sick. I'll never get cancer. If I eat this unhealthy, quote unquote, food, I will die tomorrow. And it just doesn't work that way. And we're all going to die. And we don't have as much control over it as people think.
Trickling down, chandeliers, extravagance all around. Hypnosis as you move in your gown. I give everything to have you here unannounced. See how that sounds like love for now. Enjoy the way it looks for the night. Cause bright lights define the light of my life.
This film is about food at its core. So I started with the city I live in, Boston. Boston is a weird city food-wise. My dad once asked me, what is Boston's food? I had to explain that, first of all, Boston has no hot dog carts like Manhattan where he works. This was one of those famous conversations you have with your parents where it takes about 20 minutes to explain anything, and I after still really not getting to him, I explained food trucks, carts, stands, whatever on the sidewalks and street do not exist. I called the city once about this, trying to do my own little art stand out on the sidewalk. They claim it has something to do with the width of the sidewalks, that they're not necessarily wide enough for anyone with any sort of walking disability. But through them, I found Kirk, who runs the food truck and artist stand scene in Boston by organizing events in parks and closed down streets.
Just got boxes and stuff. Am I going to be on YouTube? Am I a star now?
I've never actually been in a food truck. Am I legally allowed to step up here and shoot you in your
can
kitchen?
come in and look.
I'd love to. This is like a huge honor for me. This is the Vegan Food Festival. Early on in talking to people, I got asked by a nice woman who made vegan dog treats if my movie was pro-vegan. This was the start of me understanding my film for myself. This film isn't meant to take a side or document a single diet. It's meant to document the public's confusion on dieting. I started to learn vegans are the best place for starting a discussion about confusion. Veganism stands on a fulcrum that is confusion. The public mocks them for being confused about their food choice, to not eat quote-unquote conventional diets. And vegans thrive on the feeling that the public is confused about the same conventional diet. In some sort of never-ending I told you so between the two groups. Confusion is the key to telephone dieting. And being able to admit you're wrong is the key to ending confusion. What separates me from everyone else is my ability to admit and in fact know that I am an idiot. So I asked people about things that I didn't know either. Have you ever been to a nutritionist?
No, I have not.
Do you know what would you say a nutritionist does in general?
Probably assesses your diet and checks out what you're eating and...
That's a good guess. I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
That's why I asked. Is meat itself unhealthy?
There's a lot of debate about it. I believe it is, but I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't really want to comment on that.
What is a nutritionist? That's a question we're asking everyone. I don't know. I don't know either.
I would assume it's someone who studies the body and how to keep the body healthy through diet and lifestyle.
What is a nutritionist?
I don't know the answer.
I feel like it's someone just like well-versed with a lot of knowledge about what nutrition is in the foods that we're eating. I know one personally.
Have you ever asked them?
We've never gone into like a very detailed discussion about it.
Is there any of it? Did she ever recommend you should go vegan?
She is vegan.
She is vegan.
She is vegan.
I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't go deep with you, but...
What is a nutritionist?
Yeah, I mean, a very good friend of mine has a graduate degree in nutrition, and he could probably answer that question far better than I could.
And have you ever asked him, hey,
No, I haven't.
is my food healthier?
Yeah.
What do you even do?
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to call him now and ask him.
My sister-in-law is a nutritionist, and I still don't know what that is, really, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't put that on the video.
No, that's the whole movie. This is Joanne Suleman. She's a registered dietitian. She doesn't know what else she should say. That's perfect.
I have my master's in nutrition and health promotion.
So what is a nutritionist, Joanne?
Basically, it's about training. So a dietitian is someone who actually has gone to school for nutrition, has been trained in it, has done an internship, and taken an exam. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, and sometimes people do. Veganism is another sort of thing all in itself. I think a lot of people who eat in a vegan manner, and it's not everyone, because I don't want to characterize everyone as the same, but a lot of vegans are very into being vegan. And so they'll tell you all about it. And they have their very strong ideas about what's okay and what's not okay. And if you, God forbid, eat any sort of meat or animal product, you're doing the wrong thing. Again, I don't want to say this is all vegans, because it's not, but a lot of vegans that I have met and also seen, posting online are very into being vegan. It's almost like their identity. And so, it's almost like if someone challenges them, it's challenging their identity.
There's always propaganda that's put out of like, eggs are good for you, eggs are bad for you, eggs are good for you, eggs are bad for you. So I just kind of follow what feels good to me.
So,
what does that actually say?
What's interesting is that where are the studies that you believe come from?
That's an interesting question. That is a hard question. So I think I read something and then I try it out for myself. So I read about eating less sugar, and I've tried that for a week, and after the week is over, I feel better. I do have my blood levels checked every single time I go to the doctor, because I am just curious of like, maybe I'm missing out on B12 or all these other things that you hear about being vegan or vegetarian. And my blood levels always come back fine, enough iron, enough B12.
They've always come back fine.
Yeah.
Just before you were vegan?
Before I was vegan, after I was vegan.
Does it make a difference?
I don't know. Yeah. Who knows?
What's wrong with processed?
There's not a lot of nutrients in it, and your
Is that
food
true?
I feel like you should look into it. You should definitely look into it. Inform yourself. I don't know. Yeah, I think everyone should just look into what they're eating and what they could do to better themselves.
Oh, I wasn't asking today. I'm genuinely asking. Is it true that processed food has less nutrition than?
I think so. I don't know. I don't want to go throwing out any facts that.
Where are you getting this information?
I guess I feel like I just surround myself with a different, on social media and stuff, I follow a bunch of vegan pages where they post vegan information constantly. Or, I don't know, it's mostly social media, right, nowadays,
But is that a viable source?
I wouldn't call it viable, I still look and research things,
Where do you get the research?
Google, but I try to look for sources that I know and trust and have heard of before instead of just some new blog that someone started.
Is it healthier?
I think so. I think it's healthier for everything, for the planet, for future generations. It's just smart.
What about body-wise?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Do you guys think a lot about healthiness and things like that?
I try to be healthy. The vegan ice cream is definitely really good. It doesn't really taste any different than the regular ice cream, so.
Is it healthier?
Yeah. I think it is, coconut milk, definitely. What do you think?
I would assume.
I would think so. Yeah.
But you don't know.
Not totally. I don't really know. I'm not vegan myself, so I'm not really sure if it's healthier, but I would think so. Or maybe less fat.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Why's fat bad?
I don't know. I don't really know. I'm just assuming it's bad. I heard that you're not supposed to have full-on whole milk after a certain age, but someone told me that. I don't know if that's true, but.
Did you ever look into it?
No. I probably should. In case someone asks me on camera right now. And I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, I like the story. Who told you you're not supposed to eat whole milk after a certain age?
It was my friend from dance, because she stopped having whole milk at age 10 or something like that. And I drank it till a few days ago, so I was like, oh, should I stop drinking whole milk? But I still do, so she's extremely healthy. It was probably from a perspective of just trying to eat healthier, maybe.
What's healthier about her?
she's not vegan or like vegetarian, but I think like her diet plan is more of like less calories per day, like that kind of thing.
Why is that healthier?
I don't know. Someone told me maybe like don't put this up.
Where do you get your nutritional information from? I guess is the question too.
I'm pretty interested in learning about that stuff, so I guess reading, talking to other vegetarians, talking to other, I don't know, just sort of intuitively know, like, okay, chickpeas have a lot of protein, or kale has a lot of iron,
What do you need, iron or protein?
Everybody needs iron and protein.
Well, but is there some
Especially
reason?
if you don't eat meat, you need to find alternate sources of where to get it from.
And this is all like from other people that are vegan and vegetarian?
I guess so. I feel like it's common knowledge. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. But
I know none of it.
I guess in my circles, it's common knowledge, whatever that means.
So, I guess you serve red meat, but you don't think red meat is good for you?
I don't, no. I think that the meat industry in America is not good. I mean, I'm for small farming, for treating animals ethically. I think that what we put into ourselves is what we become. And so if you have an animal that is treated poorly and has super low serotonin levels and is being abused, then that is going to reflect in what we're consuming.
So where do you get your meat?
Alas, we are part of the great American food production scene. So we do get our meats just from the main suppliers, but saying that I'm a slave to the system doesn't mean I agree with it, but still gotta pay bills.
I think that a lot of people come in here with what they think of as all the nutrition knowledge because of the internet. So before the internet, I don't think a lot of people thought of themselves as nutrition experts, but now they do. A lot of times they're wrong. Yeah, a lot of times they sort of believe these nutrition myths like don't eat after 7 p.m., which is not correct. You know what I mean? That you can eat after 7 p.m. and you will be fine.
A lot of them were under the impression if they ate meat or dairy, they would get sick now.
I mean, unless they have lactose intolerance or a dairy allergy, I don't think that they should get sick. If you really think that you're going to get sick by eating a cheeseburger, you might feel sick. The brain and the gut are actually really connected. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone actually almost made themselves sick from eating something like that. But I don't think that they lose the ability to digest meat and dairy.
Certainty of will was certainly going to come up again. See, there was an effect happening here. American dieters seem to be used to the idea of being agreed with emphatically, or else dismissed completely. Nothing else in between. So the most basic journalistic response of, can you explain that? Seemed to shake them, shake their belief, their certainties, and even their knowledge. It reminded me of the Tai Chi concept of yielding to an enemy, too prepared for a hard conflict, causing them to hurt themselves with their own energy. It was also a lot like a dog seeing a pool for the first time.
We're a vegan bakery and vegetarian diner.
Why vegan then?
Because there's a demand for it. There's a whole world of people out there that are eating this way.
I handle mostly customer relations, taking the money. It's a meat substitute, basically.
Why would somebody eat that?
If you're trying to move away from, eating meat, as well as, health benefits, there's a lot of different reasons for sure.
What's the health benefits?
It depends person to person, but, the hormones and pesticides that they're using for certain animals, that's going right into your body.
Do you eat meat?
I do.
What's healthier about it?
It has less fat and more protein than the same amount of chicken.
You deep fry it?
We deep fry it. So like this compared to fried chicken, what are you gonna choose? My food is definitely healthier than the equal alternative food, but I wouldn't say you should eat it every day. It's not like a superfood, it's like a comfort, delicious, kind of cheap meal, right? It is deep fried, and but being vegan, you can eat the worst foods in the world, all hydrogenated oils. So being vegan doesn't actually equate to being healthy, but it has helped me pay more attention to different things Does that make sense?
No,
So it might not help other people be healthier, but it certainly helped me personally.
I found that most everyone had deeply complicated emotion towards food, and most importantly, almost none of them thought they had deeply complicated emotions towards food. Well, most everyone.
Do you ever get anxious when eating?
Maybe if I'm going somewhere that's expensive or something, maybe if I might get anxious about the amount of money I'm spending, but never really, no.
You don't worry too much about what you eat? Do you ever feel bad eating food?
No, I mean, I've been vegan for many years, and so I think that helps a lot.
I mean, even as a vegan, I have anxiety over eating. I don't know, I could eat more leafy greens and, you know, things that actually have benefits to them instead of eating something that, like, I don't know, I had mac and cheese from Veggie Galaxy earlier. Like, probably wasn't my best decision, but
I'm a vegetarian mostly because of animal cruelty and the stuff that, like, how we pollute our world. I've been a vegetarian for over 10 years and I have no desire to eat meat. I don't miss it at all. And,
Do you feel healthier?
I do. I feel super healthy.
Did you feel unhealthy before?
I felt like, no, not really, but I feel like ultra healthy now. So.
It's important to, I think, not call it diet, call it like a eating lifestyle change. It's okay to fuck up. Just gotta get back up and do it again. I ate a bagel yesterday. It's okay.
What's wrong with the bagel?
I'm off carbs. I'm off everything fun. It's just salad and water for this guy. Sadness and vegan things.
Was this via the doctor's orders? There no bagels? Or
No, they told me I could stop drinking and start taking medicine, and I was like, nah.
So the doctor says
I'm gonna be drunk and eat salad.
So the doctor says don't drink, take a pill.
Well, yeah, that's what doctors always say. Take a pill. I got a pill for that.
Stephanie claimed there wasn't an emotional reason for her dieting, but most people do not say, yes, I am affected by my emotions totally and I changed my whole life based on them, when asked at face value. 10 minutes into the interview, this exchange happens, and it is all about emotion being the driving factor of food.
So I was a scuba diver, I went out, caught my own lobster, I went to cook it, and I just started crying. And I was like, oh, this is more than just about this food systems, it's about the actual animals, for me at least, and going through that process. So emotionally it does help. But I think people emotionally also rely a lot on like sugar and caffeine and
what's wrong with sugar? What's wrong with caffeine?
They just like change your brain chemistry from what I've read. Again, I'm not a scientist or a nutritionist, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it gives you a high, like you eat a lot of sugar and you feel that sugar rush and then you crash from it, and caffeine does sort of the same sort of spike. So
can I this is the only question I'm going to ask this to be a little bit harsher.
Yeah, that's
What if I told you there was a study that said sugar rushes are fake?
Really? I would want to see the study. But I mean, I eat a lot of sugar, so that would be a good news for me. That's one of the eating habits that I've always like been a little harsh on myself for. So I'd love to see that study and then like, show everybody, be like, I'm actually healthy, guys.
And again, I'm not saying these people diet wrong. I'm saying there's an emotional reason that seems to be the driving factor.
So these animals aren't seeing sunlight, they're not touching the ground, they're not having good diets. You're gonna get bad meat with bad things in it that we might not necessarily know how they affect us. I mean, I think that like things like depression and stuff, like sweeping across the country, could be from what we're putting into our bodies.
True or not, this would be a nice thought, wouldn't it? If it wasn't stress from our loved ones or genetics from our parents that caused the problems, but the anonymous farmer who lives nowhere near Boston.
But that's all from you. That's not any study, that's not anything.
I mean, yes, that is my opinion. I mean, there are studies about, you know, what goes into animals and, you know, like antibiotics and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot more to it that we're not even seeing.
Again, emotion seems to be driving things. This connection between emotion and food was not noticed by me first, according to the Sulemans.
My name is Jonah Suleman. I'm a registered dietitian.
Oh, they are a couple who counsels people on dieting together. You are correct. It is adorable.
No, I don't need to get that. That's great having that go off during an interview, right?
No, it's good.
That's a nice thing about nutrition is we don't really have emergencies. One of the points that I often make to people is that there's a big difference between pop culture nutrition in actual like science nutrition. Literally, the first day of the first nutrition class that I took, the professor had us list the different factors that influence why people eat the way that they do. And part of it is the hard science of a food in terms of the perceived health benefits. But a lot of it too is kind of like the social factors, the cultural factors, the financial factors, like all these things that play into why we eat. But in our culture, we tend to look at food and treat it as like, oh, well, food is just supposed to be fuel.
Parents and guardians have a huge impact on kids and their eating and their food worries and weight issues. There's a lot of research that's shown that the more intrusive adults are into kids eating, the more disordered those kids become around food. And so, for instance, if they're at school or they're at home and their parent or their teacher takes away a sugary snack, shames them about eating it, they're more likely to actually binge on those foods when they're exposed to them at the next opportunity. And so when we're deprived, either physically or mentally, it actually drives us to eat more.
These other things aren't supposed to matter, but they do matter. So what often happens is people run into this friction in terms of like, they've convinced themselves that none of these other things should matter, but then when they run into the reality that, yeah, it does matter, like how much, I only have a finite amount of money that I can spend on food, or, well, we're having this birthday celebration and here comes the birthday cake, and well, that doesn't really jive with being food for fuel. We don't give enough respect to the reality that, yeah, these other things matter. How our friends eat matters. What food I have access to, what food I can afford, all that kind of stuff matters.
Well, I'm a specialized dietitian. I'm someone who mainly sees people with eating disorders. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of people with binge eating disorder, and I think that's because it's becoming more recognized as an eating disorder. You know in your bones when something isn't right. I have not really met anyone who's come in who I've said, like, actually, no, you're fine. No, if someone comes to see me, they've got issues with it. I do see other people who don't have like a clinical eating disorder. I see people with disordered eating, which I consider very different.
At no point have either of you said, well, the bad part would be if you ate this ingredient. The bad part would be if you ate this amount of calories. I mean, how much of any of this has to do with calories, type of food, ingredients in the food themselves?
It's extremely rare that I ever discuss calories with my patients. We focus way too much on calories. You have like menu boards that have the calories on them now, and I think that's really problematic. If someone has a particular health condition, I think that there are certain nutrition guidelines that may be helpful for that condition. In absence of a particular medical condition, the human body is pretty adaptable. So I don't know that there's really such thing as kind of like a right way to eat, or like necessarily like a healthy way to eat. I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways that probably qualify for that. The idea of a superfood, I mean, it doesn't really exist. It's not like a real thing. And superfood that doesn't really have a scientific meaning of any sort. It's just a way that it's a language that people use in pop culture.
I tell a story to Joanne that had puzzled me for a while. I'm sitting at a table eating Chinese food, family style, and a friend of a friend points out, oh, everything at the table is carbs. When I asked what was so bad about that or why he was pointing it out, if he was on some diet, he seemed shocked, as if no one had ever asked him about why he was talking about carbs.
Sometimes I wonder if people think they should be worrying about this stuff, that it sort of makes you part of this social group, this social experience of like, okay, we're all supposed to be watching our carbs, right? Whereas it's not a healthy thing to be worried about, but carbs right now are sort of the enemy du jour of the medical community. Everyone's afraid of carbs. It used to be that, everyone was afraid of fat in the 90s. And lately, the last 15, 20 years, it's been carbs. And so, you hear about it a lot. And sugar itself is vilified, in schools. Kids are not allowed to bring in sugary snacks or things with their lunch. It'll be confiscated sometimes. It's really extreme, but yeah, carbs have taken over as sort of like the evil macronutrient now.
I had a burning question on my mind. See, I had two grandmothers, both completely different women. Gigi was from Poland, and she spent a bunch of time in a Nazi concentration camp eating whatever it is Nazis felt Jews deserved to eat. My other grandmother grew up in America in the relative comfort of the war. After the war, Bobby, my American grandmother, taught athletics at whatever local gyms and stuff. In fact, she apparently seduced my grandpa by making a one-handed layup. It's a real story. Gigi was looking for the fabulous life. She was a singer. She came to America and learned the joys of diet pills, jelly donuts, and coffee. Bobby continued to be an athlete through my entire life, pretty much. She would play outside longer than even a kid would find tolerable. Gigi was not exactly an exerciser. One time she came up to me and said that she had been eating these things nonstop. It was those like little apple pies that you get at gas stations, and seemingly exclusively at gas stations in those horrible wax packagings. As they got older, their health started to wane slowly. Gigi never exercised, was called pre-diabetic, would eat whatever she wanted. And in fact, later in her life, when she was in a wheelchair, she asked my mother once if, quote, pissing yourself was exercise. My mom said no. Bobby was not that way. She played tennis until she couldn't play tennis. She played golf until she couldn't play golf, and that was that. They died so close together and so close in age, despite these differences. I asked Jonah, why doesn't that inspire people to find some answers in the world? Why isn't that the story that people cling to in terms of their dieting? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because I think the reason why that doesn't empower people, because it kind of leaves them at a loss in terms like, okay, wait, so it doesn't matter what I do, I can have the same outcome either way. Like you would think that would kind of free people up, but what it does is it makes them feel a loss of control. There's all sorts of things out there that we don't have answers for yet that we may have an answer for down the road. And that's really scary for people. There's an author who I'm going to paraphrase a quote from him. His name is Alan Levinovitz, and he's a religion professor, but he's gotten into writing about nutrition in recent years. Dr. Levinovitz, he talks about how it's kind of scary to live in a world where, there are these sort of like so-called toxins that you have to avoid, but it's also empowering. Because if you convince yourself that, oh, okay, well, those foods are bad, and if I stay away from those foods, then I'm gonna be okay, then it feels like, okay, well, now I'm doing something about it. Now I'm taking care of myself. Because I've cut out those things, now I'm healthy. It's not really based on science, it's more just based on us trying to make ourselves feel better.
Confusion, to be incredibly simple about it, seems to be the only consistent element in the world of dieting.
Ready, set, go!
This guy who sells sunglasses on a bicycle, which by the way, I am very into sunglasses, was the essence of telephone dieting. And my theory that the American dieter is a confident person who is also very confused by that same confidence was taking shape and holding true. So first I asked him, do you ever get anxious about what you eat, how you diet, how you feel about what you've just eaten? Do you ever feel guilty?
No. I don't, no. But I'm like a high metabolism, high energy guy.
What is metabolism, I inquired?
I think it's just genetics.
I clarified, no, what exactly does that word mean?
Oh, I don't know. It just kind of ended up in my vocabulary.
Please define it.
I think how quickly my body and makes energy from the fat that it stores.
He went on, still sort of unsure of his answer.
I think my body stores less fat for later than it does used to make energy. So I think that's what metabolism means.
I mean, I didn't know either, but I asked him, has anyone ever actually asked you what that word means every time you use it?
This is the first time somebody asked me, what does that mean?
It was then time to confirm telephone dieting and asked him where exactly he got this word and this information.
Like through friends and the internet.
The pizza festival started to divulge the most common things I would hear throughout my research. Firstly, all food people are motivated by a market for their food. Processed food, the term itself, and the utterly confusing responses I got when I asked questions about it. This is more of a PSA. Almost everyone said to me, and really almost everyone said to me, everything in moderation, including moderation. I am not kidding, except for the dietitians, every person giving some diet advice to a certain extent said something like everything in moderation, even moderation. This modern, folksy interpretation of the Eastern belief of the middle path may sound as wise as Siddhartha, but comes across more like a Snapple fact. Hey, remember Snapple facts? I collected those and even got some prizes as a kid. Anyway, that probably was weird marketing towards people. Drank a lot of those Snapples. This pepperoni guy, okay, my girlfriend was hanging out when I was editing and she was on these shoots, and I came into her room and said, do you know how long I talked to that pepperoni guy for? And she said, well, probably 1,000 hours. And I was like, no, but 40. It was 40 minutes, not 40 hours. We got into a big thing about the word processed, which pepperoni is processed in some way. He enlightened me on something I didn't know. People see pepperoni as a commodity, he said, which is true. We just expect it to be available on pizzas. He claimed that this creates a demand too great for anyone looking to make a tasty product, and I gotta say, it was the best pepperoni I ever had. We also disagreed about the status of pig-borne diseases being eliminated. I pointed out that I got H1N1 or the swine flu in the 2009 pandemic. Although I do think pork is generally clean as an animal, I didn't point out the fact that chicken rarely gets a bad rap despite the much more dangerous bird flu. So you can see why 40 minutes turned into a paragraph. This coffee guy, we talked about America's tendency for black and white attitude towards food. He told me that the term shots for espresso is completely American. Italians just call it coffee. You know, we're sort of drugifying coffee itself. I asked him about the fact that coffee, despite the studies saying that it's perfectly fine for you, in fact, healthy for you in some cases, people still walk around thinking it's bad for you, saying it's bad for you. And I asked a lot of vendors about how you feel about someone saying that your product is bad for you, a stigmatized product, pork, and now we've got coffee. And he gave the answer that pretty much every food vendor I asked in this entire movie gave, which was something along the lines of, everyone has their own opinion, and then about a sentence later, they would go on to say that that opinion was wrong. Processing food took another turn at the Nutella pizza place, saying that a frozen pizza would come from, quote, a square state, and also you wouldn't know what was in the pizza. I gotta say, I felt no passion for this frozen food thing. I saw it mostly as marketing. But I'd also like to point out, A, I've never been to a restaurant that didn't have a freezer. And I actually do know what's in frozen food. They give it a little nutrition list. I've never been given a full list of ingredients at a restaurant. So if you're gonna say you don't know what's in your processed food, but you do know what's in the restaurant food, that doesn't really seem to add up. Nutella, by the way, imported, processed, and artificially flavored. Looking at the back here. Ooh, it's not from a square state. It's from my state. It's from New Jersey. Not square at all. Lastly, he's the head chef at Bertucci's. You may have a Bertucci's or you may not. It's a weird thing where if you have Bertucci's in your area, you of course know Bertucci's is a huge chain. And if you don't have Bertucci's in your area, you've never heard of Bertucci's. But they are a massive chain. Before we talk, there's something I want to complain about with all food festivals. Most of them seem to have music. This is the reason for the voiceover and dubbing in this segment. The head chef of Bertucci's speaks charmingly with perfect English and a slight accent that's quite pleasant when not ruined by Rihanna blaring in our ears in between an obnoxious DJ shouting. And it's not just music, it's super enthusiastic music. The vibe is mostly that of a delicious secret food sample at a nice market with a warm fireplace. Food festivals feel like your grandparent winking at you and slipping you some money. Yet the music is always the vibe of eating Sour Patch Kids because that last pre-game Jell-O shot had like extra alcohol in it or something. Don't get me wrong, I'm a girl who can do both, but I think jazz trios are a better choice than whatever was playing at all food festivals, but who am I to say?
There's a lot of great cooks in Italy, and chefs, including my mother. But one thing we don't have in every house is a pizza oven, is a real wood fire brick oven. So a pizza is a great social thing to do, to go out and enjoy, because it's one thing you really don't do at home. See, the advantage of pizza, and especially our pizza, is that it's actually very healthy, and it can be as healthy as you want it to be, because by making it to order, you can choose. You can, if you are vegan, you can put no cheese. If you want just vegetables, if you just want meats.
We get into the discussion of the ingredients at Bertucci's. No frozen vegetables, no deep fryer, but they're sautéing, which is a type of frying. A lot of buzzwords are getting thrown around. Concern for high carbohydrates, olive oil as a health thing, which used to be a health craze, healthy oil. Canola oil, another one that has some sort of benefit to it as opposed to other oil. It's interesting how almost everyone in the documentary assumes I'm in favor of these buzzwords until I play my hand and show how I'm documenting my suspicion about them. So I reveal that perhaps frozen doesn't taste as good, but is there anything unhealthy? And in fact, what is healthy?
No, not necessarily, but obviously, by using fresh ingredients, you can actually just quickly roast them so they have all the vitamins. If you try to buy frozen vegetables, for example, there's nothing wrong with it, they are not gonna perform as well.
I finally pushed the chef into really answering what is healthy, and the chef steps into a preloaded line I have written for these exact scenarios.
If it's not a simple ingredient, if you read the ingredient list and you need a master's degree in chemistry to understand, that to me is not healthy. How can it be?
I point out I would need a chemistry degree to understand the makeup of all the medicines I take, plus I can't actually speak French, yet I take medicine and eat French food. Pre-written material, but I still sound witty. I feel like we're starting to get on the same page, and we finally do get there when he says they have non-pizza options at Bertucci's on their pizza menu, and I said that's kind of sad having a non-pizza pizza at a pizza restaurant. After that, we get into a full-on discussion about how eating bread probably isn't really bad for you.
If you go back to the Bible, they were eating bread. You know, the Last Supper, they were eating bread, so people were slim and fit, healthy, so, pizza in Italy and in the world has been around for over 2,000 years or more, and it will be around for another few thousand years too, regardless of diet or fashion, because it's quintessential food. I couldn't, it's part of humanity, it's part of who we are. We didn't invent it. It was invented simultaneously in the Middle East, in the Amazon rainforest, in Italy, in China, you name it. Every culture has a pizza. So it's part of humanity, just like every culture, because fashions and diets are going to change, but they are always going to eat vegetables, carne, a glass of wine. Again, it goes back to the Bible.
Like I said, there was one consistent thing about every food vendor I've talked to. Money was their motivating factor for any ideal put on their food. Whether it's fresh ingredients, natural, organic, whatever. When pressed for the reason their business made that choice, it was for money. And they all said it. Now, how could this be? Admitting that these virtues were nothing more than a marketing scheme or a way to make money? Well, apparently this was not by coincidence, as Jonas Suleiman explains.
So what I see is that people often get the order wrong. They see the food industry and they see chefs and the culinary industry as looking out for their best interest and looking out for their health. And really it goes almost the other way. In terms of like the food industry, they look at what the trends are and then they try and capitalize on that. So you saw this a lot with like when gluten-free became a fad. Again, I'm not saying that people who have celiac disease, that's obviously not a fad. But when we saw this big rise in people who didn't have celiac disease going gluten-free anyways, well then the food industry came along and tried to fill that desire. Or that demand, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So then you go into the grocery store and you see these, big displays of gluten-free foods, and you see the prevalence of gluten-free foods building, which then kind of reinforces for the customer the idea that like, oh, gluten is bad. Because here's the food industry putting out all this gluten-free food, so obviously gluten is bad. So it becomes this kind of feedback when people misunderstand and they're like, they're missing that, no, the food industry is they're just trying to make a profit. They're just putting that out there because that's where the demand is. Sort of buzzwords about like fresh or local or whatever. It's not necessarily that those foods are better or worse than food that's been shipped from far away or anything like that. It's just that's what they think their customers want to hear.
Yes, you look right.
Okay.
Okay. Explain it. Buffalo.
Okay, buffalo means...
That's the original one.
That's the original one. So it means, okay, buffalo the animal, buffalo, which means to like bully, right?
Yes.
Okay, which I didn't know that word. Buffalo. So buffalo the city, buffalo the animal, right?
Yes.
So buffalo the animal bully, buffalo the animal from buffalo. Buffalo, right? Right?
Say it again. Quickly.
Okay.
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Buffalo the animal bully, buffalo the animal from buffalo.
Yeah, but buffalo the city is first. That's the adjective.
Yeah, I know, but like...
Buffalo.
Yeah, but to explain that it's buffalo the animal from the city.
So now I say there's a longer one.
Yeah.
Do you know it?
Buffalo.
In theory, you could add more.
Yeah.
I'll say it to you and see if you can explain it.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Okay.
Buffalo.
Wait. Buffalo. Okay, yes. Okay. Buffalo. Okay. Buffalo the animal, buffalo.
No, mine's different.
Oh, buffalo. Okay.
Right.
Buffalo from buffalo, bully,
Those are those ones are alive.
sauced.
Yes.
Buffalo from buffalo.
Because the first buffalo are alive.
Yeah.
So they can't be a buffalo sauce buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's do it all again.
Yeah. Buffalo the animal. No, buffalo from buffalo. Buffalo. Buffalo sauced.
Covered.
Buffalo covered buffalo from buffalo.
From buffalo. Dead like meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got it.
I got it.
Buffalo Wing Festival, taking place in Buffalo, New York, an upstate town which is the origin of the now world-famous buffalo sauce. No other American town exists that is more definitively the home of a distinctly American piece of culture and culinary signature of this country. Yet I still scoffed when a guy told me that buffalo pizza should be world famous too. I can think of no more of an American thing than this amazing celebration of food. I mean, look at this. We can't stop the chicken eating competition just because it's raining. We gotta eat the chicken! This day is a microcosm for the event. People travel to the middle of nowhere for Burning Man. Yet in this lovely upstate New York town for the country's best wings, minutes from Niagara Falls, the event is still relatively unknown, save for the eating competition, which, by the way, did I mention it's pouring fucking rain and they're standing on a metal stage with electronic equipment and they won't stop eating the chicken! And in my opinion, every American should see this festival at least once in their life. For the people who come, spectacular dedication to fun and food despite the rain. Truly beautiful, and to understand this place is to understand my country, because of course we aren't stopping the competition for rain. I spoke with some of the competitors. They come from many different perspectives, some even pursuing careers in nutrition. When I mentioned to one competitor that people at the Buffalo Wing Festival, more than any other place I've interviewed people, have claimed, quote, they feel no stress or guilt over eating at all, that person responded to me, simply, they are lying.
Why plant-based?
Plant-based is what we see as the future. It's a more sustainable way of eating, and it gives you the same flavors and textures you're looking for, but it can give you something that will give you more longevity in the future.
What's more sustainable?
Plants are able to be sourced, work off the land a little bit better than animals. Like right now, the rainforest is burning down to support animal agriculture, whereas everything we use in our restaurant just comes from the land and can be regrown and repopulated on that same small part of land.
So it's only better than irresponsible.
Yes.
So if it was done responsibly, you're responsible.
Yeah.
You could also responsibly grow cows.
You can, but there's still the negativity of hurting and killing another animal.
Do you think people could unsustainably make your product?
Anything could be turned unsustainable or sustainable. I think.
What would be an unsustainable way to make your product?
Growing the same product over land and land until you continuously kill it, and then you can't use that land anymore.
So, do you trust the meat from Burger King?
Personally, no.
Do you trust the plant-based Burger King burger they just came out with?
It's interesting. I've had it before. I've sourced it. I've tried it, but it's not something that I personally eat regularly. I think it serves its purpose as a way to help people transition if they're curious about something, but I think there's better ways to do it.
So they're doing it irresponsibly, even though it's plant-based?
Yeah.
Are there any long-term studies on eating this way?
There are a few, nothing that I can cite off the top of my head. I know the biggest one is the China study by T. Colin Campbell.
I know the China study. I know it's a little bit dubious.
Oh, yeah.
I want to tell him a story, because to be honest, I didn't get along with everyone at the Pizza Fest. All of the pizza people I got along with fine. It was mostly non-pizza people who had big companies and some sort of very corporate booth set up there. Here's a blurred and cut out footage of me getting pushed away by a soda company that when I asked them what minerals were in their mineral water, they thought that I was being ridiculous, and I asked if they thought it was false advertising. Anyway, I approached a brand that I've seen in many places before, without the cameras. They're turned off. We actually thought we were leaving for the day. Their packaging is loaded with organic and natural and fair and all those sorts of things. Now, let me preface this for you. My girlfriend had previously tolerated me ranting about how all these natural claims create a climate of fear despite any health benefits. To give you an idea about how much she loves me, this rant started with me talking about how no one recognizes hippies as a fallen political group and ending with the false information to get America into the Iraq War. So to summarize, I'm mostly insufferable to my loved ones. But I put on my journalistic professional hat to talk to this drink company. I said, to be honest, I don't see organic as a completely positive label on a drink. I said to these people, to their astonishment. One representative who isn't obsessed with getting us to like things on Instagram presses me for more while looking at my press pass. Then I ask, well, why is organic good? I don't think the consumers or the manufacturers have a consistent or solid answer on that. He responds with, well, it's chemical and pesticide free, and I stop him. I said, you see, that's the issue. Which of your competitors' products have pesticides in them? The response is astonishing, and the others start to get in on it. He says, well, all I can say is that other drinks may or may not have pesticides in them, but I can't say for sure. He responds, and I literally wince. A well-meaning girl chimes in and starts to talk about how they are fair towards their farmers that make the ingredients for their drink and that they share profits. I interrupt her as well, and I say, I asked about the health benefits of organic and the misrepresentation of that. She goes on, well, we're a moral company. And I said, if profit sharing is moral, then every company on the NASDAQ are the most righteous people on the planet, again, sidestepping my question about health. We left at that point to go buy comic books, and I was annoyingly for about 10 minutes going on, shaking my head, pale as if I had seen a ghost, saying he actually tried to say that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Well, why do I share this story with this beef man? Because he hides a secret.
I used to do marketing professionally before this, and that's the main reason why I left the marketing industry. I used to do corporate PR, so that's all just spitting bullshit 24/7, and it wears down on you. It's something that, you can't do it for long term, because unless you're somebody that likes to just lie to people constantly. I literally went into my boss's office one day and just handed my 2-week notice in and said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something else. And from there, we built a tiny house that we lived in for 2 years, and then a camper van that we traveled around with our then 2-year-old daughter.
Once the rain really starts to pour and we decide, they're still eating the chicken, we go and we hide in a booth with a father and daughter.
Do you ever worry about them, worrying about their bodies and things like that?
Not at all.
Never?
No.
Guys, have you guys ever worried about that kind of stuff? The way you look, what you eat, any anxiety?
Absolutely. But I'm still going to eat whatever I want, honestly.
The girl then shows me some wife to a Buffalo Bills player that had caused her some consternation. I never get to use consternation, by the way. No matter the motivation for the photos on the account, whether they're an influencer, aspiring model, nudist enthusiast, this was photos of a naked woman. Pretty much that's what it was. Girls and women, like my understanding of social media anxiety, was on a long list of things that I am certain are real, but I do not understand at all. As luck would have it, my girlfriend is a woman. I asked her to explain this problem with young women in photos. At one point, I did try to reiterate what she was saying in my own words, and she interrupted me with, yes, but. Yes, but is polite girlfriend language for, you are sort of right, but in reality, you are incorrect in the eyes of every woman everywhere throughout time. So I'll use her words. Quote, am I supposed to feel that confident? Why is she posting this? And is it something I'm supposed to feel about my body? And this seemed to hold water. People did seem to get upset about it. And in fact, the Buffalo Wing Festival itself was dramatically affected by media. That's right. The Buffalo Wing Festival only exists because Bill Murray's character says that he's going to Buffalo, New York to go to the Buffalo Wing Festival in the animated movie Osmosis Jones.
I think social media plays a huge role in how people think about their diets, think about their bodies. I think for some reason people will take at face value what a celebrity will say, or a celebrity doctor will say, or what their friend will say, online. They'll think, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's totally right. That's the issue. That's the problem. It's gluten. It's gluten that's the problem, or it's dairy that's the problem. If I cut out all these foods, everything will be great. And it's really scary how these ideas can it's almost viral. They just sort of spread online very quickly. And I get a lot of those things come into my office, and people say, well, this is true, right? Everyone knows. It's like, no, gluten is not deadly for everyone. Gluten is fine, but it's just one of those things that social media really amps up that information for people.
We don't sell anything. I mean, I used to work at a clinic that did, and it was really, really uncomfortable, because what you would see was these people who were very vulnerable, and they were very scared. You tell them that basically you have this answer in a bottle that you can give to them, that you can sell them, and that if they take this, it's going to make their problem better. I just felt like it was taking advantage of people. it was a big moneymaker for the clinic, but I just felt like you're taking advantage of someone. We don't even know what's in that bottle. I mean, it's not even regulated. We don't even know what's in there. To me, it just felt unethical. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, most dietitians that I know don't sell supplements, but some do.
This was an interesting point. The idea of giving health advice in the media and selling products. I knew the problem existed, but how could I document it? I couldn't very well go into a company and say, well, I think you're scam artists, and show what they did every day, selling faulty products, pushing people through their own opinions and sort of perceived wiseness. I actually did do this once, to be honest. I interviewed a guy who was selling dandelion tea to women to cure their breast cancer. It was part of a movie in which I wanted to talk about how we should let dandelions grow because we could stop using weed killer, and you can eat dandelions, and then you could stop overwatering lawns in order to grow grass. And so then we could solve a food problem, a problem of overusing chemicals, and a problem of overwatering lawns. We make a lot of crazy movies. Anyway, I the problem with that was I kind of had to hold my tongue. I couldn't really confront him about how disgusting he was, so I kind of just handed him a petard and pointed him to our hoisting room. And besides, I'm sort of at a point in my life where I don't want to hang around terrible people. You know, if you're a journalist and you get to interview Saddam Hussein, wow, what a great accomplishment. Yet at the same time, you had to spend a great deal of time with Saddam Hussein. Could make my own product if I had that, but you'd need influencers, you'd need something to sell. One couldn't just get influencers and a product to sell out of thin air. I couldn't just get influencers and a product to sell out of thin air, could I?
Just one. The new diet product made from pure thin air. Are you overeating? Eating mindlessly? Well, cut it out, dummy. Next time you're hungry, have just one. Our unique bag opening encouraging technology allows you to keep your promise when you say, I'm just going to have one. So next time, just have one. Coming to a store near someone.
That's your water. So essentially, the product is this. There's nothing in them. It's just air. You have another shoot today?
Well, I'm just assisting this guy with his engagement shoot today.
Okay, we are going to be using this in a documentary, and that's what you'll be paid for today. Open it if you want. The idea is, it's sort of like we're calling it a diet tool. Like, if you're craving food, if you think you're obsessively eating, you just open one and it kind of like gets that craving out of you.
Okay.
Just to do it. And then it's kind of like a little marker as a dieting tool. So this would be the product itself.
This is literally it?
Yeah, this is it.
Wow.
And it's sort of like a marker. It's not like meant to deter you from eating food. There's nothing inside. All it is this bag. You open it up, and it sort of is a marker for you, as a tool for your diet that you're craving something. Maybe you're mindlessly eating. Maybe you're mindlessly grabbing bags. You open this up. There you go. It's a little bit of like a check mark, like, you know, knocking on the door when you lock it, or all those sort of things. It's just a bag with air. People eat too much, and they want to just one. Right. So, do you have any other questions about the product itself? What we spoke today.
Well, let's say, so it's not really, it's just a...
this is it, this is the actual product.
Yeah, so it's no like pills, I gotta like, hey, pop it, like, no. So yeah, it's just right here.
So, do you have any questions about the product itself?
Besides, what is it?
Yeah, all it is just this. It's just this, but other than that, it's just these bags of air.
So it's the concept of just one,
yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm just having one.
And what was the question again?
just if you had any questions about it, if you had any questions about, doing the endorsement for it, if we decide to go with you.
I think it would be very tough to endorse this, or not endorse it, but get people to get on the board.
Why?
Because there's not much to the eye.
Oh, the look of it is what you don't like.
Oh, it's not that. Not that I don't like it. It's, again, that's what I think the followers. I think that's what they're gonna think.
So this is our first just test run of this. So you think we should change the packaging? Is really your main?
You could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Anything else?
I'm not into fads. I don't think pills are a good idea. I feel like you're just tricking yourself, and it's better to have a marker like this, like something that represents whether you exercise instead of eating, or I tell people, eat vegetables first, then have your craving. But I do think this would be good as you open this and you connect it. It's a marker in your mind to connect it to, okay, this is when I'm having a problem, and it brings your awareness. Because yoga is about awareness. Your body, your mind, how you're sitting, how you're treating people, how you're breathing.
To be in that. Is this what you do full time, influencing?
I'm trying to switch to more full time because I actually started like 2 years ago, but more of like part time and everything. That jacket over there was like one of the first people I actually started out with was them.
And we'll leave the name, but they paid you to post about it, or what? They were a modeling shoot, or what?
No, so pretty much it was just so since it's a cell phone company, I was out in South Boston, when I first did it, went on South Boston, did a lot of flying work, a lot of engagement, customer service, and then if I was inside the store, I'll get customers to possibly buy phones, or if they needed to switch plans, whatever they needed.
So it was like a job at Metro PCS, but you were also doing their social media?
No social media. No social media content.
Okay. So I guess the question is, what makes you think you'd be right for this sort of social media thing?
I think I'm a pretty personable person in real life, which makes my social media. I think that's why the followers I have.
Yeah.
They know who I am in real life, so they know that what he's saying and what he's doing on his social media is actually true. So anything I'm putting out on my social media, it's backed by that. Guarantee that. This would be your first job you're even trying to pursue in being an influencer? Sure, she can say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there other ones, or?
No, this is my first one, man. First and only one.
It's important to you.
I've been a personal trainer for about 17 years, so I've heard different people's struggles with diet, different dietary conditions, what works for people, what people's main problems are. I also own a yoga studio, so there's the mind-body connection of, am I craving something? Am I thirsty? Am I stressed? I know a lot of people are stress eaters.
What made you want to do it? Just to bring in some extra cash?
Bring in some extra cash, but again, also let's see what the product was about. Like I said, I'm really into my health, and I really want to see what else is out there that can improve my health. So.
And that's the main thing I get from the yoga side.
Because they're stressed?
Yes. Or they're mindlessly eating. I'm gonna fill this void. I'm upset, I need to eat. I'm happy, I need to eat.
Yeah.
Congratulations to me, I deserve a chocolate or whatever.
And do they come to you for diet advice and things like that?
Yes. Because I do macros. I just try to balance my carbs, protein, fat, but I think whatever diet works for people. And they always ask me because, I'm up in front of the class and I've managed to get a handle on things. So they want to know what they could do, what's the magic pill. And I always say, balance and controlling your cravings, controlling your portion control. If people could just moderate and control their portions, I think that would solve a lot of the problems. So I think if they could just say, I want chocolate and have one versus eat everything else and then still have the chocolate.
We're not necessarily supposed to be eating meat. I'm not going to go into that deep.
Go. I mean, you can go into it.
But it's
What's the not supposed to? Where did you? You can say whatever.
It doesn't digest. We just don't digest it well. We don't digest meat well.
So where did you get that?
So Dr. Sebi.
Okay. And where did he get it from?
He's a doctor, and he's traveled all over the world. He has done a lot of research, a lot of holistic healing, you know, without the pills and things like that, more holistic. So he said a lot of the disease that we have in the human race comes from mucus. That's where the disease comes. That's where if you constantly have mucus, or you know, that's where and your body is telling you something's not right to get it out, you know. And now a lot of that mucus comes from red meat.
Interesting.
And that was part of his research that he did. But just feeling it feels different.
It feels different.
It feels different. I feel lighter. I'm not hungry as much. I don't eat as much. I don't feel the urge to eat as much. Again, my body wasn't used to it. You have to. Food stays in your body. Meat stays in your body for a long time, especially if you eat a lot of it. You know, that's where like cancer comes from. That's where tumors come from. That's where blood
from the meat being in your body.
Not necessarily the meat being in your body, but just what the meat does to your body over time. That's it stays. Red meat stays in your body. I'll say it takes about, they say, 90 days to digest.
90 days.
90 days.
Yeah. And so they paid you to post social media, or this was
just in so like
what specific influencer work, like social media content for them, or post content on your feed for their product?
Yeah, more on my feed for the most part, or even if it's just like people just being out there and like that customer service, like being out there in person, hand in hand, talking, you know, and then possibly driving them to their webpage.
So this is like flyering, like a street team kind of stuff, like what they used to call it. Like you're out there, and what have you posted on your feed?
Maybe like a deal or something. As far as like buy, you know, switch over, then you.
And they asked you to do that, or were you getting a bonus for the customers you brought in, or?
Oh no, I wasn't. No. I didn't care about the bonuses and all that. You know, like me in general. You know, I've always, like, even though like they haven't paid me to post or anything like that. You know, pay me to post. I'll do it regardless. You know, even if they don't pay me to do it. Just
why?
I don't know. It's just like I just like posting, you know.
Right now on my Instagram, I think I only have 800.
Okay.
I have 700 on my business Facebook.
Okay.
But I've been collaborating with a lot of people, so I feel like I'm just in a growth stage.
What's that look like, the collaboration?
Nothing like this. I've been working with a lot of photographers, and I was in an independent film the other day. Just a small part.
It's not like I know a lot of people get paid a lot to post $100, $50 or whatever, but I just naturally, because at first I didn't, like, I was just posting to post originally and not really, you know, posting to get engagement, but not really like posting and thinking about getting paid originally, you know. And then when I started like doing more research and everything like that, and then actually writing the right messages, and even as far as like taking a picture and like taking a picture at the right time or posting at the right time to get more engagement and customer engagement.
So to be clear, has anyone ever paid you to post on your feed, or you are now, is this a new career you're trying to find to be an influencer?
Yes,
okay.
I'm switching over.
So how long have you been pursuing being an influencer?
I've actually been pursuing it since for 2 years, to be honest. Really? I'm also like tagging people, because I have a lot of friends who like models and everything. I'll tag them to the page because she looks for models, so it's just kind of like a.
But they don't ask you to tag them, so you just tag.
No, I do it anyways because I like doing it. It doesn't like it's a passion, so it's not.
When people ask me about my diet, I say pescatarian to keep it
simple.
Exactly.
I've always thought that was a weird thing. That, like the words, like does it help anyone to have these words? Like, because you're like, I'm a pescatarian. Does it actually? It doesn't actually explain anything, does it?
And they got cupcakes, or still eat, you know, different cakes and.
What's wrong with the cupcake?
Again, it's just processed. These are all processed foods. Processed food.
So you eat like what? Do Do you only eat like it's just cooked once? You don't eat pasta. You don't eat.
So I'm not saying I don't eat it.
Yeah.
I won't prepare it myself. If I go to someone's house, how is this going to affect my body? And I know it's going to affect my body a different way, whether it's in my bowels or my pizza, pasta. It's processed, and it's not. Our bodies aren't processed. Our bodies are natural. We're natural bodies.
Well, I got a fair amount of vaccines in me, stopping me from getting a few diseases.
Well, there you go.
Pretty heavy amount of cavity fillings.
Well, we're born natural. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Or we're supposed to be born. So maybe some people aren't even born natural. Maybe, I don't know. Shit.
The bowels thing's interesting. I got you thinking of it. Right. The bowels thing's interesting. It's an element that we want to. So many people talk about what they put in, and it's like this thing in making this movie. It's like no one wants to talk about poop.
It's important. You have to, man. I look at my shit all the time. I don't know how else to say it. I look at my shit all the time, like because for the same reason I just said. I know how it affects my body. I literally by my poop. Yeah. I know how it's coming out. I know why I'm straining right now. I know why it's coming out loose right now. I know why it's this color. I know, once you start, and again, I do that because that's the only way that you can do it. That's the only way you can kind of engage.
No one talks about it. Somebody talks on and on about the diets, and then it's like
people don't want to talk about that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not anybody, so
how can you talk about the results of a diet without being like, I shit better? That's like the number one thing that someone's going to think about when they eat. The number one thing people complain about when they eat bad food is, I had a bad shit. And then the number one thing that people don't talk about when they talk about a new diet is they're like, I'm not going to tell you about the poops.
Because most of them aren't on real diets. They're just like
doing fads or whatever.
Exactly, man. That's oh man. Yeah, exactly. Because it's crucial. It's crucial.
Is there any other questions that you have about the product or about anything in it?
No, I'm just glad it's not like a diet pill. I was like, if I get here and it's a diet pill that they want me to push, I'm just not into that stuff, so I wouldn't have felt good about it.
I mean, this is talking about things like this. How do you feel about diet pills? It's perfectly appropriate to talk about on camera. What? I mean, they've been around forever. They've got other worse names, but
I think some of them technically work, meaning they'll raise your heart rate and suppress your appetite, but it's affecting your heart. And I think other ones, maybe people think it's going to do something magical and it doesn't. You know, or I could put it up there and say, take this pill and you're going to look like me, and they would buy it because they think that, but it's not true.
Right.
Like the diet teas and all. And I said to my friends, I said, if I get there and it's it's just something I didn't agree with, I just would have to politely decline.
Yeah, there's a lot of those products. It's scary how many of those products are. Have people told you they're taking them before, or asked you what are they? Do you know anything about what they're taking or what it actually is?
I think a lot of them are just caffeine and ephedra back when it was on the market, the stuff that speeds up your heart rate, and I don't know, it's like speed, only not speed. Yeah. A lot of people ask my opinion and I say, what about this pill? And I look at it and I say, I wouldn't take it. It's not going to do what you want. And then they take it anyway because everybody wants a quick fix. Mm-hmm. And I get it and I empathize, but you have to just eat right.
Ephedra was a scary one.
A lot of my friends took that.
Really?
Yeah, because we were like 18 to 21. I never did just because I wasn't into stuff like that. And they got really skinny, but it's like speed. What are you doing to your heart? For real. Like, I hate to sound dramatic, but...
Well, it's not...
And it worked, so people... But I'm like, what happens when you stop and you start eating again? It's just like smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did do arena football, which I did get paid.
Oh, that's awesome. When did you play arena football?
I played arena football 2 years ago for the New Hampshire Brigade. Yeah. Played college at Merrimack College.
Wow.
So I was training my whole life for that opportunity to play professionally, and I did that for a year and a half, and trying to get back out there still now.
So you're still trying to go back up to arena? Or?
Yeah, trying to get right back to arena.
I mean, you must have a very different view on eating and dieting and things like that than a lot of other people.
Absolutely, especially a lot of athletes. Also, because a lot of guys, they try to get big and they want to eat the meat. And I'm a pescatarian. I haven't had red meat in 8 years. Once I got to college, I met different people. They had different ways. Guys were taking steroids, guys were taking creatine, guys were taking HGA, whatever. And that made me think, like, okay, I don't want to take none of that yet.
The way that, like, you know, TV movies make, like, drug peddlers, but there's a weird, like, camaraderie that guys that take supplements have towards you in wanting you to try the thing they're doing. It's really odd, and I don't know if people have talked about it.
It makes them feel better about what they're doing. That's all.
Makes them feel more normal.
Exactly.
That's an interesting way.
That's what I think.
But it would probably be somewhere between 50 and 100 per post.
I'm happy to give them
what
out
you
to
do.
people and bring them to my studio, or
Very cool.
You know, I think people, and you know, even if it's not for everyone, that's just like anything. You know, yoga's not for everyone.
I don't care if it was $25.
Well, now I feel like I should have loved that.
It's like the relationship and the engagement, so it doesn't. I thought, you know, I didn't really.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Yeah. Like I said, man, I can make it happen.
Well, thank you so much, Amari. This was great. Let me give you the cash somewhere in my pockets.
Cash money.
I will let you know in the next few weeks. So an element of doing these things is that 90% of the people who want to be like an influencer are usually like flakes and weirdos. So we might have even gotten catfished by this person, but either way, their website, which I wanted to talk to them about, is one of the craziest things I've ever seen on the internet. So they just didn't show up. There's things showing that they're a music producer. There's things showing that they're in Georgia and Connecticut and Baltimore. If this is you and you're not fake, go ahead. So the person just didn't show up. They haven't responded. They responded this whole time being like, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. They have the address, and then today they're just like, no. You get it so you can see that word right there. I don't know if you can. Doctor. It appears several times on the website. They are not a doctor. It's pretty concerning. They show the etymology of the word of doctor, which is like some sort of website. So FAQs. How many years of experience do you have? 15 years. Are you a doctor? Yes, I am a doctor. A doctor is one who educates and helps the lives of the people they are teaching. Not in English. That was my addition. If you are wondering if I am an MD, medical doctor, one who holds a medical degree in medicine, no, I am not a physician. Do you perform long-distance Reiki? Yes, as long as I have consent. I'm not making fun of Reiki or your beliefs or whatever, but you can't believe that somehow you have the ability to like looking into the magic mirror from Snow White, scry into people's homes and Reiki them. Does Reiki have negative abilities? Why would that? I don't understand. Are you licensed? Yes. In what? Who is getting Reiki'd and is like, oh, I didn't tell you, Mom, but I was Reikiing you the whole time, and that's why you're better. Suck it. They have a pyramid scheme on here. It says TM. I wonder if that's TM'd. No. They're claiming Michelle Obama uses this. It's like a makeup product for black people. Sounds like a great idea, but I'm not in favor of pyramid schemes. That's scary. This person is literally using Michelle Obama to try and say that this makeup product is A, real, and B, endorsed by Michelle Obama, and then to do that she's a doctor even though she isn't, and that people should join their pyramid scheme thing. This was off of one Craigslist ad that I found this person. I didn't search the internet for them. They just came to me. It's pretty scary to think that, you know, we're making this product here today, but somebody is just literally, there are people so far gone that there's somebody on the internet being like, no, I'm a doctor, just because you define doctor as having a PhD or having this degree or, you know, having this degree in medicine and having this amount of experience. I don't care. I'm a doctor. That's where we're at. But they didn't show up, so who cares? After I filmed this, I couldn't go through with getting people to post the social media posts. It had nothing to do with my product. Quite frankly, I actually think my product is more moral and would actually work better than 90% of the stupid products you see people selling on the internet. You know, I studied video and film, all video and film. And this thing of spokespeople and putting a person to your name and all those sort of things is kind of the old way of doing things. It's, had a huge prevalence in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and we started to crack down on it in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Yet it is starting to rear its ugly head again. That's why I put an element of this in the movie. I've seen more cartoons nowadays endorsing some food or product, and it's concerning to see that they're starting to go after kids again, which was one of the main reasons that these laws were passed, to protect kids. It wasn't that I didn't believe in the product. I thought it was fine. Who cares? It wasn't that this isn't going on or that other companies don't do it. I've certainly found out that pretty much if you pay people $50, that's the number, they'll say it. They'll endorse it. It was more that I knew these people. If I was morally against this type of advertising, and I had met these people, and I liked them, they were good people, how could I make them do something that I didn't like morally? But I've heard this thing about the internet. I've heard that being anonymous lets people do terrible things on the internet. They make comments. They do things like this. They do pyramid selling. They sell terrible products that don't work. And somehow it's easy for them because they never meet these people. So let's try that. I'm going to go on the internet and find some people to do this ad instead. Not people I know. Makes it a little bit difficult, morally hard. It's like seeing the... You're not supposed to see the executioner. Anyway, while I was managing to make light of this whole situation, I do so in order to shed light on the issue, because it is a very real issue for those in the field.
I think, one of the important things that I wanted to sort of convey to you is that you can't tell how healthy someone is just by looking at them. And so while someone might look like the picture of health, what we all think of as a healthy person, we don't know what they're really doing. We all have that friend who is lean and mean and smokes 2 packs a day, you know what I mean? Or eats at McDonald's every day. And that's fine. I'm not judging these people. That's fine. But you can't really tell what someone's doing just by looking at them. I also know people who are in larger bodies who eat what I would consider very well-balanced diets. And that's just their genetics. So I think that's something that I would want people to know is that, health looks different on different people, and you can't measure it just by stepping on a scale. I think it can be very hard when I know that people have such stigma, have such strong feelings against people of size. I think people have a lot of preconceived notions about larger people. They think they're lazy. They think they eat too much. They think, just stop eating so much, that kind of thing. They don't exercise. They just sit on the couch eating bonbons. And so it's hard to sort of get people to move beyond those beliefs when that's what we've been told in our society. So yeah, it's hard, especially in my profession where I'm working with people's food. I feel that sort of like under the microscope a little bit, like, oh, how are you supposed to help me with this? But I think also people do appreciate that I might be able to understand where they're coming from more than someone who is in a leaner body. That, because I experience oppression too. I experience, doctors lecturing about my weight too. And so especially for some of my higher weight patients, that's something they can relate to. And they feel safe with me.
So, this being told to me, I felt that the more I could prove you can pay people to say anything, the more I would add credit to hardworking, caring, ethical people like the Sulemans. Okay.
Are you sitting first?
No, just sit. Gently. Gently. Okay. We're going to watch these.
Okay.
Then we're going to react to them.
Okay.
We're going to... This is what I did on the internet. Hold on. First, let's turn this on. Oh my goodness, my hair. Okay. Lay back. Sit back, relax.
Okay.
We're going to play this. Ready?
Yes.
Just One is a dieting tool made by the best nutritionists around. No pills, no supplements, just air. Using Just One can help with any diet goal. Lose weight, get more muscle, taste food more, strengthen your telekinetic abilities. That's Just One. God bless America.
He wouldn't say, I wanted one of the effects of the product to be deepen your relationship with Jesus. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't say that. He would say that it will give you telekinetic abilities.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
And he would say...
At first I was like, whoa, is that guy saying that? I was like, no.
No, I wrote it, obviously.
Yeah.
Solamente uno es el más bueno bag of air. ¿Quieres comer más? ¿Quieres comer menos? No problema. Solamente uno es el bag of air para ti. Solamente uno.
I believe him because the pocket square.
Yeah, and I thought that is a bag of air para ti was like the greatest thing I've ever written in another language.
Solamente uno es el mejor bag of air.
Okay. So this is the big one. This is the big one.
Is she the
She's we'll see it in this.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay.
And she did a lot of takes, and this is just absolutely offensive.
Is a nutritionist designed in lab testing.
So let's stop for a second.
Wait, what?
This is the I said it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Oh.
She didn't correct the grammar, or I said
Okay.
something ridiculous, or she read it wrong. So this is the lab. Technically, if you own two computers, it's an editing lab.
I'm Dr. Kieran Dunstan.
That's
Just
the big
One is a
reveal. I'm
nutritionist
doctor.
designed in lab testing. Whatever your diet goals are, lose weight, eat less mindlessly, connect with farmers. This patent pending bag of air is meant to be the tool you need to be more aware of your eating. No pills, no supplements. This all natural solution is the way to a better life. Just One, coming to stores soon.
Now this was not extra what she's about to do.
I'm Dr.
Lab coat.
Kieran Dunstan.
Oh my gosh.
Just One
She brought
is a
that up.
nutrition.
I said I want the lab coat.
Whatever your diet goals are,
With the
lose
side.
weight, eat less mindlessly.
MD, God,
connect
wow.
with farmers.
Wait, she really is an MD?
Who knows? This woman's willing to say
It's
it.
meant to be the tool that you need.
I swear to
be
God, people
more
would watch her doing
aware
this
of
and be
your
like,
eating. No pills, no
Connect with
supplements.
farmers. My
This
doctor
I haven't
said
been
it's
connecting with
important.
farmers. Oh my God.
is Just One is a nutritionist designed in lab testing. Whatever your
No,
diet
it's great.
goals are,
Is
lose
that this woman refuses to like email me and be like, nutritionist designed in lab testing. That clearly some part of the script cut off. Instead, she's really trying to make it. I mean, forget about the fact that she's a doctor. What person is like, this person definitely doesn't mean nutritionist.
She just reads.
She just reads, even if the PDF's cut off. It's missing a word.
She committed.
I'm a doctor. I'm just going to read this anyway.
eat less mindlessly, connect with farmers. This patent pending.
No, wait, hold on. I'm not making fun of any product that does this, that says any of these things about their product. What I'm making fun of is that these people have not seen the product. They've not seen the movie. They've been sent a script, and I'm like, I'm going to use this on our commercials.
Honestly, I think hers could be a real commercial. And people would be like, if you played this, like, and people are walking past, like, people would just think that was a real commercial. And some people would stop and be like,
$300. I didn't have to send her any information. And I easily could have put this up on a doctor saying that my bags of air are approved.
Yeah.
What did I do with it? I literally did it with a phone. A phone and a PayPal account.
I must say, like when you see Dr. Sabag with the melon cure with Cindy Crawford
What
for your
is
face.
that even? What is that?
Cindy Crawford uses this product on her face that is made from a melon that doesn't age. So therefore, if a melon doesn't age, that means my face wouldn't age if I rub the melon on my face.
Okay. The presence of the melon.
And
is
actually, I
probably
think it
the
should be
most trusted-
illegal for her to have these commercials, but because it does like make me want to have it, because I'm like, oh yeah.
Because of the doctor or the melon? Does the melon, you
Both.
put the thing on the melon and the melon doesn't get wrinkled?
Melon, Dr. and Cindy Crawford trifecta.
This is the pinnacle of everything that's wrong with this stuff.
Mhm.
What else can we even say? What else can we even do other than to show that I can literally go on the internet and get a doctor to say they approve of my bags of air? What you've got, like, and this is the crazy part.
Is she really a doctor?
Who? If she's not, it's illegal. You know, you're not allowed to impersonate a doctor.
I know.
So either way, it's the most ridiculous thing on the internet
Mhm.
that I could find this.
I
But a
think if you
doctor has no
If
excuse.
you projected her in the lab coat saying this ad like in the middle of a mall or something where people are just walking past, people would stop and be like, "Oh, what's this? What is she talking about?"
People stop even when there doesn't have the MD, and it's just someone with a stupid lab coat being like, "Here's me chopping up the guava juice from the Andes."
Yeah.
Like they're just
yeah. Well, but if she's a real doctor and she does think that air just one,
she hasn't heard what it does. They just have that script. Her only question was, "Do you want the lab coat? How many takes do you want? Do you want the lab coat?" I said, "Yeah, I want the lab coat." Lab coat or no money at all.
Yeah. But like for me, like the whole thing is like we're simultaneously like, you know, all of this with these, you know, big over the top like unhealthy gross foods or, you know, unhealthy whatever.
But also, like, our whole
that you did that,
society, yeah. Well, that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. But then, like, the whole thing is like, well, everything has to be, you know, organic and all natural, and, you know, oh, you shouldn't eat that, or you shouldn't drink pop, or you shouldn't, you know, like, whatever.
Do you mean soda?
I mean pop. So, like, you know what I mean? So it's like simultaneously, like, everything is being marketed to be like, this is natural and will make you skinny and, like, is healthy and is wholesome. But, like, also it's like, buy this giant milkshake with, like, a Pop-Tart sticking out of it. And, like, some hot girl is going to take a picture with it on Instagram, but you can't even really drink it or pick it up.
But I mean, that's the essence of it, because there's going to be a jump cut here. You wanted to talk about a thing with mukbangs affecting kids, and that's the essence of telephone dieting. You don't even remember where you saw that.
Yeah, I know. I don't.
You wanted to talk about somebody that did a video about the effect of mukbangs.
Yeah.
And you don't remember where you saw that.
Yeah, I don't remember. But also, I just think it, like, of my own accord.
I know, that's fine. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to point out the telephone dieting where it's like...
And, like, for me, as, like, somebody who...
You don't even remember where you got the commentary on the dieting.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
That's how much we're being inundated with food.
And, like, for example, though, like, as somebody who's had an eating disorder, like, I used to, like, read menus online because I wasn't eating anything. So it would be like, I'd read them to be like, I'm eating, you know?
Really?
Yeah. Instead of people just being like, I'm a model, so I have this, you know, dietitian and this trainer in order to, like, maintain a body that fits into these clothes, like, to be this fit, you know, whatever. Instead, it's like this weird thing where, like, models are being like, well, look at me eating this cheeseburger, like, look at me, whatever. And it's like, obviously you're not really just eating cheeseburgers all the time. And obviously you have, like, a trainer and you have these people for your job of being a model. It's like, it would make people feel better if it was just, like, that truth instead of, like, pretending that the model's just, like, eating whatever.
I think we're so screwed.
What it is like, everybody is obsessed with, like, knowing something. Whichever thing is the thing that they read that they're gonna be that they are gonna know, you know, or that they're like, okay, I want that one. Like, I want that one. I can apply that thing, and then I can tell other people that thing. Like, it's like you find it from somewhere, but that doesn't matter. It's like now that it's become you, and then when you share it to them, it's like they.
90% of people never say anything funny, and so for them, their identity is, I showed you something funny.
Yeah.
I showed you, more than 90% are never going to make a good piece of music. I showed you this band.
Yeah. I really
That's
do
me.
think that
I
that
showed
is very
you.
True.
Did you know about Star Wars? Congratulations, it's my thing.
Yeah.
Not George Lucas's. It's mine. I said it.
Yeah.
For me. I also think this is like, you know that whole call your mom? Everyone go ask your mom about what dieting things she did as a young lady.
Yeah.
To say that anything is new. I mean, I had heard someone in this movie list a diet thing, and I traced it back to a diet trend from the 80s.
Like, for example, my mom is still, like, you know, fat-free, low fat, because that was the whole, in the 80s and 90s, everything was supposed to be fat-free. But nowadays, everything's more like full fat, you know.
Okay, now we make a porno because the camera's on.
No. That makes my face hot.
It's literally a light that
Am I
cannot
red?
emit.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah, okay, but you're nervous. That light does not, like
literally, no.
science,
No,
it
no,
cannot
no.
give off
my
heat.
My face is not red from blushing. That is making me hot, I swear to God.
It scientifically cannot.
Okay, well then it's just the time of day where I get sweat.
That could make you hot. The projector makes the whole room
Okay,
hot.
maybe that's what it is.
Okay, well then we'll stop. And to be honest, that did seem like the best ending, but I thought I'd share some closing words. There are generally 3 stages to a film. Pre-production, this is the planning and the setup. Production, your actual filming or animating in the case of cartoons. And post-production, the editing and maybe promotion, depending on who you ask. I found there was a 4th stage. Telling people about your film. And mine had an interesting effect. People were so enwrapped in telephone dieting, they didn't even know it themselves. I once sat at a busy table full of conversation and had 3 separate conversations with 3 people who were vegetarian. All 3 listed different reasons why they were vegetarians, and all 3 listed separate reasons as to why they think others are vegetarians. I talked to many people on and off camera about dieting, simply hearing what they had to say. I never went one day without hearing someone list, quote, the damage that is being done to the earth. I knew for certain that many, if not most people, had an underlying emotional issue that led to why they believed the diet they did was the thing to do. It gave them comfort. Even when someone's facts were solid, why did they seek out those particular answers? Why were some people so focused on avoiding cancers, others on weight, others on ignoring all of those things entirely? So again, the environment, quote, toll to our planet. What were these people chasing or running from? I rarely say the term nowadays, so take it with great importance when I say the words nowadays. People are very concerned with agreeing. We are afraid that someone will be on the opposing side of our political views or scientific ambitions or ethics. I won't say names, but there are more than a few. And I ask the obvious question when listing the environment as a concern. Are you afraid of the world ending? The answers, when they were open and honest, were deep and sad. Oh, also gum. No one in this whole thing talked about gum. Has to be terrible for the whole situation. It's basically rubber and you poop it out whole. Oh my God, it's the original telephone dieting. Kids are always telling each other, if you eat it, it'll do this. Oh my God, it's made of plastic. Pretty much it's this disposable thing. There's people that sell mints in metal tins. Just throw away your metal tins. Throw away our metal gum containers. I guess when it comes time to kissing, and your breath stinks, we'll do whatever it takes. Earth be damned. Anyway, sorry. The answers were deep and sad. So, I want you, yes you, the viewer, to take a second. Forget which side of which issue you are in favor of. Forget how what thing you bought gave what percentage to what. Forget how wrong someone is about whatever, and ask one question to yourself. How are you doing? It seems to be something we don't want to ask. How are you? It isn't unreasonable. If you believe the world is in danger, it's okay to be scared, or sad, or brave. You are not a superhero. I am sure you do not think you can solve all these issues on your own, or even more upsettingly, and I have even more concern for you, is you do think that. Passing knowledge to others is a wonderful thing. Passing lies to others is a terrible path. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, how am I doing? Am I okay? And I assure you, it will not calm you at all. It may give you more anxiety because most days the answer will be, no, I'm not okay. I feel fat and gross and I want to barf and get a snack at the same time. Will someone just tell me exactly when I'm going to die so I can stop fucking worrying about it? So thank you so much for watching.